Is it back to civil war for Colombia, or was Sunday's shock rejection of the deal to end 6 decades of fighting with the FARC rebels the prelude to a better bargain? We're going to ask why voters failed by the narrowest of margins to approve the agreement, where it leaves a Marxist guerrilla movement that for now insists it's still sticking by the deal, and what next for President Santos, who'd gotten all those world leaders last week to come for the signing. Did he put the cart before the horse? Does he resign a la David Cameron after Brexit? Or can he forge a consensus with the no camp? Same as with Brexit, we're here talking about a vote that didn't go the way of those who decided to organize it. In the case of Colombia, it's about how much you compromise for the sake of peace. When is the right moment to say, I forgive you for the horrors of the past? Today in the France 24 debate, Colombia Votes No. With us to talk about it, she was taken hostage by the FARC when she came to negotiate and was held for 6 years in the jungle. Former Colombian Senator Ingrid Betancourt, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
From Bogota, Samuel Hoyos, Congressman from Alvaro Uribe's Democratic Center Party. Thank you for joining us.
For having me.
Christophe Ventura, Research Fellow for the International Relations think tank IRIS.
Hello.
And he was the Wall Street Journal's correspondent in Bogota, Inti Landauro, now here in Paris. Welcome back to the show. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter at the hashtag F24debate. The difference, minute in a crucial referendum, the no camp winning by 54,000 votes out of nearly 13 million cast. Once again, the pollsters got it wrong. Yuka Royer explains the outcome.
Rejecting a deal that the government billed as Colombia's best chance at achieving peace, supporters of the no vote say they don't want to let the Marxist rebels have their way.
We've all been victims of the FARC, and the no vote victory is a call for the government to renegotiate the agreements, not to hand over the country to the FARC.
Under the peace agreement, which capped 4 years of talks, the government commits to addressing inequalities in the country's long-neglected rural sector. The guerrilla group would hand over its weapons to UN monitors and, in exchange, turn into a political party with 10 congressional seats guaranteed through 2026. FARC members who confess to their crimes committed during the conflict will avoid serving time in prison. It's this last point that proved particularly controversial. Those who voted no saw the FARC emerging as the winner in the negotiations.
The fact that the FARC were sharing and owning or claiming victory for the negotiations did not really sit well with the majority of Colombians, which could have explained the no victory.
Former President Alvaro Uribe, who spearheaded the no campaign, lambasted Santos for spending 4 years appeasing the rebels. During his presidency, Uribe unleashed an all-out war with the FARC with support from the US.
This grants impunity and eligibility to run for office to the highest leaders of the FARC, the largest cocaine trafficking cartel in the world.
Despite voting down the deal, Uribe and the no supporters say they don't reject peace, but that they want to achieve it without making too many concessions.
Don't reject peace. We're going to pick up on that point. But first, Ingrid Betancourt, you advocated the yes vote. What happened? Are Colombians not ready to forgive yet?
Well, I think it was more complex than that. There were other side debates that came into the balance, and probably also the understanding that by doing an agreement with the FARC, somehow Colombia was losing its bearings in the sense that it was bringing some kind of communist, materialistic values. And the churches were very active against the referendum, and I think it really played a huge role.
How do you explain that?
Well, I think there were problems of understanding what really matters to Colombia. Family values are very important, and people felt threatened with the idea that was, on the table, that perhaps this deal was going to change the way Colombians live, the traditional values, the way, in Catholic and Christian country, it was, felt like if it was a threat. the impunity issue was also a big problem, because Colombians were saying, okay, we want peace, but we don't want these guys to just go free and clean their hands and just come into politics without.
Well, for you personally, was it easier? Was it easy to make that decision to advocate the yes vote?
No, for me it was not easy, but my starting point was different. For me, it is what is just in a country that today has 95% of impunity. And having the FARC accepting to face a tribunal and to confess their crimes in a country where there's no confession, where there's no tribunals, where there's no justice, for me it was in a negotiation with a group that has not been defeated, that is still powerful in killing and damaging the country, in making victims. It was, I thought, and I still think, something that was just, even though it was not the ideal.
Samuel Hoyos, do you take that point that, okay, the deal wasn't perfect, but at least it brought these people to Colombia's institutions?
No, I think the agreement yesterday, election was not a decision between war and peace. It was a democratic election where the majority of Colombian people decide that they did not agree with the current deal offered to FARC because it was against justice, it was against victims, it was against our democracy system. If they want to make a real peace process, they must be able to participate in our democracy system. But yesterday we just say no to violence. That was the message.
Say no to violence, but right now there is no plan B, so couldn't the outcome be more violence as a result of voting no?
No, there is. We need a national consensus. It's imperative right now. A national pact that fortifies the negotiation with FARC terrorists and represent every faction of Colombian civil society. We can build a better agreement who represents all the nation, who represents the victims, who represents the farmers, who represents all the citizens' feelings. The yesterday deal was rejected because it didn't represent us.
All right, let me put this to you, Inti Landauer. You just heard Samuel Hoyos call the FARC terrorists. It sounds as though Colombians aren't ready yet to forgive.
But definitely, I think that was part of the problem of all the debate about this agreement. A lot of Colombians were not ready to make peace on the conditions that were set up in that peace agreement, certainly. And I think also the problem might have been that during the negotiations, both sides didn't really take that into account, how the majority of people really felt about the war, about the guerrillas.
But you were surprised by the outcome.
I was surprised. I thought a lot of people were drawing similarities between the vote in Colombia and the Brexit vote, but I think that contrary to what happened in the UK, there was a lot of sectors in the Colombian societies who were defending the yes, the C. While in the UK, it was a little.
It was half-hearted.
It was half-hearted. Well, in Colombia, a lot of people were strongly advocating in favor of the C. So yes, I was surprised. I thought, like everybody was saying, a bad deal or a not so good deal is better than no deal at all.
Christophe Ventura, of course, after the Brexit vote, the Prime Minister resign. Should President Santos resign at this point?
I think it would not help to stabilize the situation because what we have to underline is the fact that a few people participate to this referendum. I mean, you have more than 60% of the people
37% turnout.
Yes, who abstain, which is the biggest participation rate of abstention in Colombian elections since 1994.
How do you explain that?
I explain that for the reasons we can hear here. I think that the culture of peace is still not very strong in the country. I think that it's still a very sensitive issue, this conflict with the FARC, and in a country fed by 52 years of war, of hate, of conflicts in families, etc., etc. So I think that people were not really ready to support the deal. I mean, what the majority of people express is that they don't want to answer to the question. They don't want to answer to the question to know if this deal has to be confirmed or not. So that's where we are tonight. And I think that Mr. Uribe, who has a clear victory, a very important victory tonight, won his ticket into the negotiation right now. So the question is also to know what is his plan B? What is his B plan for the country?
Heading to the table, and we'll talk about what Alvaro Uribe's plan is in a moment. Ingrid Betancourt, when you see the FARC of 2016, is it the same as the FARC of 2008 that you saw up close?
No, I think they have gone through a thorough transformation, not only because the leaders of that time, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, are different. We had Marulanda, we had Raúl Reyes, we had Cano, and these guys were military-driven. They wanted to win the power, to gain access to the power through violence, through confrontation, through the war. The people that are now the leaders of the FARC are people that are just understanding that that's not an option anymore, and that they have to choose. Are they going to stay in the jungle and transform themselves into really a drug cartel because there's no other thing to do? I mean, that's one of the choices they have, or play an active role in the Colombian politics. And these guys are choosing that way. And I think that's something that perhaps Colombians didn't value enough. For many Colombians, war is an abstract thing. Majority of the population in Colombia live in the cities. And in the cities, what you have is delinquency, criminals, backrooms, people, robbing you in the streets. And for them, the difference between those people that are thugs and this organization is not clear. And I would say that for them, it's the same.
And is it clear for you, that difference?
For me, it is, with, of course, knowing that what they did to us, as it was a terrorist act, to kidnap people or to do mass massacres or those things that are, war crimes. They have also the other side, which is a fight for ideology. And if we just take them as terrorists and only that, I think that we are jeopardizing the opportunity of having these people, which are, influent in Colombia, helping us bring together a Colombia that has to come from this reconciliation. Half of the country doesn't know who other Colombians living in the countryside are. They don't know the poverty, they don't know the misery. It's something that is not shown on TV. And it's true that after 100 years of violence, people are with hard hearts or hardened hearts. So for me, peace is much more than this agreement. It's much more than who goes how long into a jail. It's about transforming the country and transforming the way we deal with each other in Colombia. The relationship we can have with other Colombians is based on trust. And that's something that it's hard for us. That's the reason we're having this no vote.
Inti Landauer?
I think Ingrid is right. The guerrilla, the FARC guerrilla has changed a lot in the past couple of years, probably during this negotiation even, as the fact that they not only rejected the violence as a way to take power, but the fact that they are recognizing representative democracy, the fact that they're recognizing the market as something that has to be as a free market economy to be recognized in a country. Those things are important, and probably a lot of Colombians didn't understand that change. Now, the fact that they made that step of changing may be positive in the future. On what is coming now, the Colombian government will have to find a new agreement with the FARC, and the FARC now is not the same FARC as you had 4 or 5 years ago.
What's coming next is what we'll be talking about when we come back. You're watching the France 24 debate.